Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Jr. versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Jr. versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. Mr. Adam Smith.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I've got to say, we're not conscious of time, but we're conscious of potentially Conor Benn legging it over there. So if there's a random cut and you see Adam Smith running at 100 miles an hour,
that's it.
We will pick it up afterwards.
That's it. There's a few people over there, aren't there?
He's a wanted man this week. It's the hottest ticket in town. This is where we get the real fight feel, because they get to verbally exchange words, and we'll get hopefully a closer face-off than we got on the grand arrivals. It's all about to kind of kick in now.
I think so. We're 50 odd hours till the fight. It's really exciting being at Tottenham again. We were here for the AJ Usyk, the whole pre-fight, the first time we ever did boxing at this amazing stadium a few years ago, and then of course Fury fought here. But yeah, it's an incredible backdrop for boxing, and I think Saturday night is going to be really special in here. But first of all, we've got a press conference. We had one in Manchester with the egg. We had one here, which was psychological warfare. And I hope a spark again today. I think we just need a little fire lit, Oscar.
Someone to pull the pin on a little grenade and kind of roll it onto the stage.
I think it's been...
Is Billy Joe, that grenade, the news about
possibly
Conor wanting Billy Joe to inspect Chris's hand wraps?
Possibly, of course.
It's quite a good idea, actually.
It's a lovely idea. Billy Joe's been sort of floating around the scene lately, talk of him possibly fighting again, and of course the history with Eubank. I think that's rather nice. We need these little subplots, don't we, on Fight Week? The 18-foot ring, the dads, I think, is done. I think we know Christina won't come, and Nigel's been all over it, and it's been great catching up with him, actually. We had some time together yesterday. And it's going to be a fantastic fight night. I cannot wait for it. It's huge for British boxing. It's huge historically. Before you were born, I think. But I remember as a teenager loving Senior, loving the theatrics, and then working with them both at Sky in those early days, and on the Eubank World Tour, and Nigel Benn in his last few fights, and Steve Collins era, really. And yeah, it was great times. And now the boys are doing it, the two of them. No love lost, real feud, family legacy on the line, and a fascinating fight. 2 weight divisions between them, 7 years in age, a lot of experience, the gulf, the 2.5-year delay, lots of imponderables, lots of things to get very, very enticed by, and I hope it lives up to all the hype, and I think it will.
Yeah. You've just made me realise we could probably write a book on the storyline between the sons alone, and we haven't even got to fight night yet. All of this has gone on before. You mentioned the stuff with the fathers, which has kind of been said to death now. The potential of the Billy Joe thing, the egg and whatnot. When they get in the ring, how much of this actually matters, do you think?
We all love the build-up to a fight.
Can you win a build-up?
I think you can sometimes get a psychological advantage, and I think in Manchester, Eubank did that with the egg, and I think here he did it again, the way he manipulated the dais and tried to undermine Eddie, and I think, Eubank has controlled the, and it's been premeditated, the build-up very well. So, slightly, but I think Conor seems very cool to me this week. He was rattled here before. I don't think you'll see that again today. I don't think he'll be riled up like he was. I think he has spent a lot of time with Tony Sims, and they've had a great training camp, and I think he's ripped and ready to go. So I think he wants to fight now, and when the bell goes, this will all go out the window, and it will come down to tactics and who gets it right on the night, and ultimately who's the better fighter on the 26th of April. Eubank starts the pre-fight favourite, rightly so, with the experience and the size and maybe the skill set, slight punch power as well, but the ferocity and wildness of Conor Benn, as well as a boxing brain and the way he's trained for this, you've got to take him extremely seriously, and it wouldn't surprise me if he pulled off the upset.
Yeah. I mean, Nigel's told pretty much everyone about this spar with William Skull, which perhaps doesn't bode as well for the fight we're going to get in Riyadh next week. But that he wanted to quit, he wanted longer breaks. And this is a man who's going in as an IBF world champion to fight Canelo Alvarez next week, that Nigel is adamant was, pieced up by Conor.
Look, he's undefeated, and he has his opportunity against Canelo, and sparring is sparring. We all know with the smaller gloves on under the lights, it's very different, and people have different memories of sparring, different experiences. We remember AJ and Dubois in the build-up to that one, and I was at one of their spars, and it was ferocious. It certainly wasn't AJ getting knocked out or anything like that. So I think people see different things, and whispers and rumours get out. But yeah, Nigel's been adamant that Conor's been phenomenal in training, and he's chewed up much bigger guys. But I was just talking to Spencer and Gareth about Kell Brook stepping up against Golovkin. It is a huge weight difference, and okay, he's been campaigning around like middle in the last couple of years. I think naturally it's better for Conor than it was 2.5 years ago, but still Chris is a super middle by trade, and if he's made the weight right, and if the rehydration clause isn't too taxing, then that's a massive advantage for Eubank Jr., you've got to say. And what happens if he does stand and fight and trade early on with Conor Benn? Will Benn be able to take that power? I flash back to Cedric Peno and what happened in that fight, in that first fight. And if he's reckless and too wild and doesn't listen to Tony Sims in the corner and lets emotions run away with him, then he could run into big trouble as well.
Yeah. I know Brits love kind of a jovial boo. Eddie's always got it. It doesn't matter what he's put on at Wembley Stadium, there'll always be a little boo that rings around when Eddie says his piece afterwards. It was actually quite sad. Charlie done an interview yesterday with Chris, and he said he was like, I didn't want it, but I've just been booed for 11 years straight. He said, but that's just the villain that I've ended up playing. He said, Conor was the golden boy, the people's hero, if you like. They love to hate me, but they hate the fact that they're going to have to boo him now. Are we really going to see 65,000 people potentially boo both men into the ring for a fight that everyone is excited about?
Do you remember Frochgrove's one, when George was booed into the ring and cheered out afterwards, despite the stoppage? So it's amazing what crowds can do. Liam Cameron was given a massive ovation, huge reception in Birmingham, and I talked to a lot of the fans there, and they said they think Whittaker wins, but they wanted Cameron. So yeah, people like someone they can connect to, and I think sometimes Chris has done it his own way, and he's done it in a cold way. I like him, actually, personally. I think he's an intelligent young man, and I think he's very different. A bit like Ben Whittaker, he's very different when he's away from it all and the cameras, but I think he's got a persona. He's stubborn like his dad. I think he plays the part, he plays the role, and I think he's created that. And I don't think he'll care. I think he probably loves the boos. His dad did. His dad stood on the ring apron, tapping the gloves, whether it was in Germany, England, no matter where he was. But Chris just adored that. And I think when people loved Junior's dad at the end of his career, when he fought Carl Thompson and started to lose, and people really got behind him then when he was having defeats, Joe Calzaghe, etc., he became a much loved character. It's funny, isn't it? You look at snooker, Barry Hearn's other big sport apart from boxing and darts, and Steve Davis has been mentioned a lot this week, and everybody hated Steve Davis when he was winning, but when he lost...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, everyone, when he was winning, it was boring. Steve Davis was just always winning, and everyone wanted Hurricane Higgins or Dennis Taylor or someone to beat Steve Davis. But when Steve was losing and then Hendry came through, everyone wanted Steve Davis to win. So, yeah, we love an underdog, don't we? And I don't know who's going to get booed on the night. Maybe it will be Eubank, but I think the crowd will just love the fight. I think a lot of people will be here and will be watching live on DAZN. They'll be watching for what happens when the two lock horns, because the first fight with the dads was so memorable. The second, a little bit more of a stalemate. I thought Nigel won that night in the draw at Old Trafford. But I think this time, I think people are just, they're buoyed by the fact that they feel that these two are going to go at each other and that it's going to be a war.
Is that what Conor has to do?
I think so. I think Conor's got to do it, but cleverly. He's got to do it. He can't just be too gung-ho, otherwise he's going to walk into those crisp left hooks of Eubank Jr. and those uppercuts. I think the uppercut, people are talking about the left hook, but I think the uppercut's a big weapon for Eubank in this fight. But Conor's slipping and sliding, got a little just glimpse of that in the media workouts where he's going to be using
it's very
angles.
low and unorthodox.
He's going to get very low. He's going to be very difficult to hit. I think he's going to be unorthodox. He's going to go from side to side. He's going to find angles. He's quick, but of course he's not naturally a middleweight. So it's just a fascinating one. I think I could see Eubank winning early, I could see Eubank winning late, I could see Eubank winning on points, I could see Benn winning early, I could see Benn winning late, I could see Benn winning on points. I could even see a draw, like at Old Trafford. So I think any result is possible. I think the most likely is that Eubank finds a way, but if he's tight at the weight and that rehydration clause is a real problem for him, then a Conor Benn knockout victory is there. And as Eddie says, it will relaunch his career and and get him back on track after the problems he's had over the last 2.5 years. You've got to remember as well that Chris is at the end of his career. He's 35. What's he going to have this one? And if it's great, there'll be a rematch. We all wanted a rematch from Khan Brook. That fight happened too late. Obviously, Kell won in a one-sided fight. It didn't merit a rematch. Amir retired, and this one, they say there's 2 fights in it, so we want a great fight first time so we can get a second. But, it is the latter part of Eubank's career. How long does it go? The Billy Joe fight? Years and years, it seems like. George Groves even seems a long time ago, doesn't it?
He won the British title either 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks after to Conor Benn's debut against Nick Blackwell.
And I remember when Conor came into the ringside, said he was about 16, and his dad, we were doing a special with Nigel, and he said, my boy up there, he's going to become a fighter. I don't think even Conor knew at that stage, whereas Junior, I think, always was going to become a fighter. So this fight was probably never, ever in the minds of either of them, really, but it was in all our minds because somehow we wanted to put this together. And I tell you something, Oscar, I think it's much more interesting 2.5 years down the line than it was then. I thought Eubank Jr. would have won fairly comfortably, even at 157 last time, but this time I'm not so sure.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Jr. versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Jr. versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.